Does everybody have a mental illness now? It certainly seems that way. One of my dirty pleasures when I'm at the gym doing cardio or shooting basketball is I listen to Dr. K in the headphones. And I don't want to say I'm hate watching him because he does put out a lot of good stuff, has some good conversations. A lot of times it's pretty enjoyable, but man, do I find myself really disagreeing with him, his methodology, I should say, a lot of the time. And for lack of a better word, I feel like it's just a lot of soy-based therapy, just very soft, very, how does that make you feel? Very much an exercise in the wheels of the car spinning, but nothing is happening. Like just, spinning your wheels in the mud. And that just really seems like what a lot of it is, and nothing is really happening, and no results really happen. I don't know. It just seems like that with a lot of people that are in therapy. They just don't ever get better. And is there any financial incentive for the person to get better? Like, do the pharmaceutical companies really want you to not take that drug for the rest of your life? I mean, that's a very cynical way to look at it, but it does just seem like this very soft approach to trying to help people solve their problems is almost enabling. I mean, yes, sometimes telling people what they need to hear is mean, but they need to hear it. And luckily, I've surrounded myself through my online acquaintances and real life acquaintances with people that will tell me things that will hurt. After COVID, I had a couple of my online friends, ruthless motherfuckers, just tell me, dude, you're getting kind of fat. And they were right. I'm working on it now. I'm cutting back down, getting that fluff off. But you need people like that. You need people that will hold your feet to the fire to make you the best version of yourself. And I feel like so much of this therapy is just people getting nowhere. They're just doing it to make themselves feel better, but not actually, I don't know. It's like exercising versus like training at the gym. Like there's a difference between really trying to get stronger versus doing Zumba. At this point, it seems like every Twitch streamer has some form of ADHD, depression, or the big one, anxiety. And I guess it's just not possible to be a normal, well-adjusted Twitch streamer. Just can't do it. But I'll tell you what, the big one that really, the anxiety one, it really just seems like a stretch. Because I'll tell you, man, there were a lot of people that have had a lot of anxiety throughout humanity, particularly somewhat recently with World War II. Hundreds of millions of people with a lot of anxiety. And guess what? They got through it. And not only did they get through it, they improved the lives of their children and their children's children tenfold, particularly if you live here in the US. We have been coasting off of the fucking greatness of the World War II generation for decades. And dude, it sucked. Everything about that period sucked. And I tell you what, those guys that stormed the beaches of Normandy probably had a little bit of anxiety. But maybe it's good they did. Maybe these emotions that you feel, these human conditions, aren't all necessarily bad. Maybe they all don't have to be medicated away. And I'll give you an example. So, I was a Twitch streamer, believe it or not. I know, right? I had a pretty successful little Twitch stream there for a minute during WildStar. Now, you know where this is going. That's the joke. I was a WildStar streamer, the WildStar streamer. And guess what? The game was not commercially viable. It was a complete failure. So all of my success I had streaming, I'd have like 400-ish viewers, pretty solid little community that was very generous. It all just went away through not really any fault of my own. And guess what? I got sad. I got a little depressed. But guess what? Maybe that's good. Maybe, I was sitting there, just laying in bed, like, what the fuck am I gonna do with my life? Because I'm not somebody that can fake, I can't fake it, man. If I'm not interested in any games or making videos, I can't just go play Happy Wheels and scream. I just can't do it. So I'm laying there in bed, just every day, I'm just staring at the ceiling, like depression symptoms. But that's good. It caused me to get up and change my life. So I'm sitting there in bed depressed because I'm fat as fuck. I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. My primary hobby and thing I enjoy kind of just got taken away. MMO gaming YouTube is just rough. I mean, it's still rough. So I just had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I knew something needed to change, and I just started changing stuff. I didn't know if it was the right thing, but that depression really put a fire under my ass to at least change something. So what I decided to do was lose the weight. You know, I'm just gonna not be fat. I'm gonna start getting in better shape. That is objectively a good thing. So I'll start changing there. Well, what am I gonna do for money? I can't do the streaming and YouTube thing anymore. I just have no passion for what's currently available. Well, Department of Labor Statistics. I literally went on the Department of Labor Statistics and was like, well, what am I gonna do? Let's look and see what is in demand. And what do you know? Welding. That's why I picked welding. The Department of Labor Statistics. A few other factors, I was, factoring in like electrician, plumbing, all that other stuff, but welding was like the one where I could get minimal education and get a job that's anywhere in the country tomorrow. So that's what I did. That feeling of depression and sadness and what the fuck am I doing with my life is what I needed to feel. I can't imagine how much shittier my life would be if I medicated that away. If I medicated that pain and that uneasiness away, I'd be a worse person. And I feel like there's so many people that are just okay with being a loser on antidepressants. You just get to medicate your failures away and not feel them. And when you fail, it sucks. But you gotta feel it. Like, you gotta feel it, otherwise you're just never gonna learn from it and never gonna grow from it. Now, I know this is not the case for everybody. There are some people with some legitimate issues, but the widespread nature of this and the self-diagnosis is crazy. If you have a hereditary thing, that's a very different story. But I feel like so much of this is just general softness. I hate to keep bringing it back to comparisons, but I feel like in this instance, perspective is pretty important. When there are Africans starving and fighting to stay alive while you ponder if you should kill yourself surrounded by DoorDash, it starts to look ridiculous. And there are just so many people, even in this country, in the United States, that have done and seen so much worse. I have a close friend who was in the military and operated at an extremely high level. This guy was literally doing Call of Duty shit, jumping out of planes, taking it to the enemy, man, really doing the badass shit. And if you think I'm selling this at all, I'm not, because he didn't. He was the first person to tell me that nothing good comes out of this, and it's just horror. Like, honestly, it's just horrific. Anytime he talks about it to me, just a normal person, I can't relate, man. It's just, I make YouTube videos and he'll tell me these crazy, like, just horrific things. Like, everything about all of what he had to do was terrible. And I just can't imagine having to live through some of these things. And I'll just give you an example. So obviously you're over there in Iraq or whatever, and the kids come up to you because they're curious. They're just kids, right? And they see you with the tanks and the gear and the guns and whatever, and they're curious. They're asking questions, whatever. And you're just a soldier walking around, and there's kids being curious, being kids, and one of them blows up. That's right, children suicide bombers. Everybody. I just can't imagine that. And that's just one example of many. The IEDs, like, God, it's rough, man. And living through those human experiences, if he can do all of that and come back to normal life and win, that's the thing. He came back, and yeah, there was an adjustment period, but if this guy, having experienced the most extreme mental trauma known to man, some of the most extreme physical trauma known to man, he's not crippled or anything, but he's been in multiple IEDs, got brain shearing, had to get a hip replaced, legs are all fucked up and broken a million times from jumping out of planes. Physical, mental, just the absolute, went through fucking hell, literally, war is hell. If he can get through it and not need antidepressants and anti-anxiety and all this stuff to get through his day, if he can come home, readjust to normal life and win, then you can too, man. You can do it. Now, I will say this guy is a pretty mentally tough individual. You kind of have to be to survive what he went through, but it's not like he has no issues or no things he worries about. Having talked to this guy, it's really stupid, but one of the things he's worried about is not being the best father just because he knows he's got a few screws loose just having gone through what he's gone through. You can't get that toothpaste back in the tube all the way. He will never be like me and you that haven't been subjected to war. Like, you're a different person. And I'm not saying it's necessarily all bad or all good, but you're just different. And he knows that. And honestly, what he can instill in his daughter, that intensity, like, he just lives life with a fucking intensity, which is why he's had that success outside of the military too. But, he's worried that, am I crazy? And he's got nothing to do. He's doing a great job. That's the funniest thing is his biggest concern is like his biggest accomplishment, really. It sounds silly that he's worried about, I just hope I'm doing this right, when he's doing a fucking great job. So, moral of the story, guys, why are you such a sad bitch? Do you have any reason to be? Because there's people that have reasons to be and aren't. They are winning in spite of it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to subscribe with notifications on. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and join the Discord. It's free.